501c3, number one, we have to go back to sort of the nuance of there's more than one type of 501c3. There's two main types, private foundation and public charity. Private foundations generally set up by the rich. Public charities are charities that receive tax-deductible donations from at least 1/3 of the general public, right? So we have these two different worlds, very different, right? If one person's funding a 501c3, that's very different than trying to raise funds from the general public. Organizations that are funded by the rich, they have to give away at least 5% of the fair market value of their assets on a yearly basis, okay? Now, if you are one of those people that is fairly analytical and mathematical and say, well, how do they determine fair market value assets? Well, they have formulas for that depending on where the assets are held. Cash obviously being the easiest asset to value. Cash is cash. Public equities are valued based upon a rolling average, relatively complex over a 365-day period. Real estate assets are generally valued upon certain appraisals and market value as well. But suffice it to say that you would hire accounting people would help you value the assets so you know exactly how much you have to give away each year. That's called the minimum qualifying distribution. For example, if you have a $5 million foundation, then it gives away at least $250,000 every year. Okay, that's the minimum it has to give away. If it doesn't give that money away in that accounting year, it will be penalized. Okay, and the theory is that you're setting up this charity to do good, and if you're not giving away at least 5%, we don't know if we really believe that you're doing a lot of good here, right? And in addition to that, there's this belief that qualified investment managers who are managing the assets probably should be able to earn at least 5% or more, so that actually if somebody's handling the funds in a prudent investment capacity, you could keep the foundation going in perpetuity because the 5% that you're giving away, you're actually earning as well. And so it's, in essence, the foundation keeps going, right? Of course, that's all academic, but it is what it is. Now, on the public charity side, it's also interesting. Public charities don't have a 5% minimum distribution rule, but they do have this general rubric that a public charity must do good. And if the organization is just literally holding on to funds and not doing anything with the funds or the assets, then very likely the conclusion is the charity is not doing good and their tax-exempt status could be revoked by the IRS. Now, obviously, it would have to be over a significant period of time, but at the end of the day, very similar. The expectation is as good as going to be done, and if the IRS finds out that that's not happening, then the status will be revoked. For a foundation, it can give funds to a public charity recognized as such within the United States of America. Now, it also can give funds to individuals subject to what we call heightened expenditure policies. It can also give money to private operating foundations, and it also can give money to foreign organizations, all with these heightened expenditure policies. Now, why do I mention that? Because for the most part, private foundations are very reluctant to give to anything other than public charities because there's a secret thought in their mind that what if our distribution is disqualified or objected to by the IRS and we were wrong. In other words, we were wrong because we gave it to a private operating foundation and they didn't use it for the particular purposes and we didn't follow the proper procedures of these heightened expenditure policies. Then we may fail the 5% minimum distribution test and we will be penalized, not only as an organization, but as an individual. So private foundations, there's no benefit for them taking a risk. They basically will only give to public charities, okay? On the public charity side, public charities don't really give money away. Now, that doesn't mean they never would give money away. Like a scholarship program or something of that nature, completely acceptable. Whether you give directly to individuals or the institutions that these individuals are going to, and educational institutions is what I'm referring to. Much more the latter if you're a responsible scholarship provider. But for the most part, money's not really going from a public charity to anybody else. What the public charity is doing more of is running a program. They're running a homeless shelter, right? So they're delivering programs to the population that they serve. They're running health and wellness in communities and bringing that to impoverished areas. That's a program, right? They're not giving necessarily money away. They could be bringing food to India. A client of ours every year filled up a whole plane full of food and literally flew the plane with a commercial pilot and flew it over to India and distributed the food amongst the needy in a variety of provinces, right? Some logistical things, but end of the day, they weren't giving money, they were giving food to help people. So for the most part, the kind of assistance that 501c3s give depends on if it's a private foundation or public charity. Foundations are the one giving money. Public charities are the ones delivering programs and assistance.